drive for South Africans living outside of the Republic will take place at the foreign missions between the 1st and 4th of February 2019. The Electoral Commission Contact Center 0800 11 8000 has been activated to assist all citizens with queries regarding registration and the upcoming elections in all official languages. It can be contacted between 8 and 5 weekdays. The contact center will also open during the registration weekends. Agents also respond to emails and to messages via our social media accounts, our Twitter handle, as well as our Facebook page. Since it opened on 10th January, the call center has responded to nearly 1,000 calls, emails, tweets, and Facebook posts a day. Registered voters can also visit the elections website to check their current registration details and voting station location. In that, we include our app, which is available on both Android and Apple platforms for uploading. They can also SMS their ID number to 32810 to receive an SMS containing the address of their voting station, and this is at a charge of R1. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you know that the President yesterday signed into law the Political Party Funding Act. The Electoral Commission welcomes this assenting to the Act as another historic milestone in the continuing entrenchment of electoral democracy in our country, and will serve to enhance the transparency and help ensure an informed electorate into the future. The Electoral Commission is already working full steam on preparation for the implementation of the relevant sections of the Act from 1 April 2019. The drafting of the regulations relating to the various aspects of the Act is already underway, and it's expected that the draft regulations will be published for public comment before the end of February 2019. The development of an online declaration system through which political parties and donors can make electronic submissions to the Electoral Commission regarding donations above the threshold is also underway and is planned to be ready on 1st April 2019. In discussions with Parliament and National Treasury, it was always envisaged that the Act would be implemented in a staggered process beginning 1st April 2019 in line with available funding and to allow for the development of capacity within the Electoral Commission to meet its obligations in terms of the new Act. The vital part of the implementation will also include education and training of political parties and private donors on the new Act and how to meet their various obligations. The Electoral Commission will be working with political parties, business organizations, civil society groups, relevant state institutions, and other key stakeholders to help in the development of systems and capacity to ensure it is ready to meet its obligation in line with the agreed staggered implementation of the Act. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention.
Thank you so much, CEO. I'm going to open the floor for questions. I'm going to take the first batch. I can already see the first hand up. I'm going to take the first group of questions, and then we'll take the second. Okay, let's start this side. 1, 2, 1, 2. I've got cameraman in front of me, and I've got 2 hands this side. Ceci, as you ask the question, please introduce yourself and the media house so that we can interact properly. Let me start this side. Yeah. You've got a speaker in front of you. Just press a button there to make it green. There's a black thing next to you so that we can hear it properly.
Good morning. It's Karen Joyce from the NCA. If there's any update at this stage of the ANC's complaint that they laid against the DA, in terms of the ANC's killing South Africa, just a billboard, there was a complaint laid. Is there any update on that investigation? Thank you.
Next, this side,
Alex Mitchell from News 24. Just in terms of the new law that was just enacted, we obviously won't likely see this at full implementation by May 2019. So will this process, you said it will go through a stagger process, but are we looking at anything being disclosed before the general elections? And then I know that there were complaints received about the PLF. I just want to know if the Commission has taken a look at those yet. Thank you.
complaints against PLF. Can we check this?
SABC News. I just want to check what the outstanding number of those who have not disclosed their addresses.
There's a hand next to you. Oh, you are covered. Okay. Let me take the last one that side and then we'll respond to the questions. Logo?
Anyway, my name is Mulu Kulot from ENCA. I just want to know whether you received any other complaints besides the GA1 and what have you done so far. But also, I find it a bit confusing because in your statement you mentioned that this weekend provides the final opportunity for registration. But somebody mentioned that during February you will be going to universities. Just explain to us what's going to happen if somebody misses this weekend. And finally, when you say there's no need when you come to verify and update your addresses to provide the proof of address, how then do you ascertain or satisfy yourself that if I say I live in Centurion, this is exactly where I live?
Okay. All right, let me allow my panel to respond.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'll deal with two questions. The one relates to the BLF. I'm sure you have not had any news in the last week or so. We did meet with the BLF to discuss to ascertain the understanding we have in relation to the expectations we have of all registered political parties and the complaints that we had received in respect to the party. I am pleased to say that we had a good meeting of the minds, and it is our expectations that we have clarified the things that concern us, and we have been able to obtain commitment from the party in relation to the issues concerning their registration as a party and their behavior as a registered party. With respect to the complaints in relation to the DA billboard, the matter is still with the Commission. We are investigating the complaint. We have had discussions with the parties concerned, and we will deal with the matter in the normal course of investigating complaints of that nature. We do have an arrangement where complaints of that nature are thoroughly investigated, and depending on what comes out of the investigations, we could then either approach a court or settle the matter with the parties concerned. I think those are the issues I needed to deal with. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. As we speak, there are 21 million people for whom we have complete addresses. That gives us 83% of all persons who are on the voters roll, 21 million. Just to give that figure some perspective, when we were in the court in 2016, we only had complete addresses for 8.4 million people who were on the roll. And in the last 2.5 years, we've been able to improve that figure from 8.4 million to currently 21 million. The number of people for whom we have completely no address is 1.5 million. So out of the 26 million people who are on the roll, those for whom we do not have an address, it's 1.5 million. Now, two things that are critical. The Constitutional Court in November indicated that we should not allow anyone to vote without first providing either an address or details of their ordinary place of residence, or what they call sufficient particulars. The Electoral Laws Amendment Act that was also assented to by the President over the last 2 days fortifies that position, and it codifies it to the extent that any person who presents themselves on election day without an address, before the given ballots, they'll be asked to provide their address details. And then an assessment will be made whether they are in the correct province and so on to determine the number of ballots that could be handed to them. So that is the position. However, it is our hope that that 1.5 million persons for whom we still don't have addresses will present themselves over the weekend, so that that number is significantly reduced, such that we limit the number of people for whom we need to collect addresses from whom we need to collect addresses on election day. So we're using this opportunity that you are presenting us by your presence here to make a call to those South Africans who are on the voters' roll for whom we don't have an address, to say it's yet another opportunity that is being availed to you to ensure that you are fully compliant with the laws of the Republic. The final registration vis-a-vis the February registration at tertiary institutions, I think we did indicate in the statement that this is the final registration drive closest to where people live. In other words, in voting stations, where we'll be opening close to 23,000 voting stations. So it's final in the sense that we will be going to people where people live, closer to where people live for the last time by opening voting stations. Beyond the weekend, our offices will remain open to receive applications between 8 and 5. So anyone who may miss the opportunity this weekend can still go to the voting stations. There will be also special drives within tertiary institutions to ensure that young persons who are enrolled within institutions of higher learning are afforded an opportunity to be on the voters' roll and eventually take part in the elections. Proof of address. That matter, I think, was settled a while back because the Concord already in the Tloko case indicated that we should not labor under the misapprehension that we have to verify addresses. The task of the Commission is not to verify addresses, rather to collect addresses and ensure that based on a given address, we link a person with the correct segment of the voter's roll. So, which means that decision means we have to take people's bona fides when they present themselves. And if there's any malfeasance, then in terms of the objection procedures, people who are incorrectly registered can be pointed out and appropriate action taken. But we can't work on the basis that all the 21 million people are of a malicious intent. They are not. There may be an insignificant proportion who may want to beat the system, but there are inbuilt mechanisms through objections, inspection of the roll, that can point them out. Now, the last question relates to the possibility of disclosure before the elections. We are planning to implement the Party Funding Act on the 1st of April. And the practicalities are such that it may be impossible for parties to be able to submit their disclosures before election date. But soon thereafter, there will be a requirement for them to submit, and that may include elections-related expenditure.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me take the last round of questions as we get ready for the weekend. Going once, twice. I've got one question that side. Any other question? Okay, if not, let's take one to Maloko. Your question, please.
The 1.5 million people who are still not qualified their addresses, are they going to be allowed to cast their votes?
Okay.
I saw one hand here. Okay, yes, in that.
My name is Alex. I wanted to find out with this party funding, right? Let's say party A is funded by 10 and they disclose 5. How will that be monitored, or how is that going to be checked?
Okay, thank you. I think that covers it. CO, only 2 questions to go.
Yes, the 1.5 million people for whom we don't have addresses, they are going to vote subject to them providing an address or a place of ordinary description of a place of ordinary residence in the voting station. So, as I indicated, our hope is that they'll come over this weekend, and so that we reduce that number significantly. But if that does not materialize, then on election day, before they vote, they will need to provide an address or alternatively a description of where they live. So their franchise rights are not taken, but there's an additional administrative procedure that they'll have to undergo before they vote. Now, the disclosure on party funding, it's a dual disclosure system. Any donations above 100,000 rands have to be disclosed. And they've got to be disclosed by both the donating party as well as the receiving party. So if company A donates 150,000, there's a duty on that company to disclose. But there's also a corresponding obligation on the receiving party to disclose. If you don't disclose, and let's say both parties don't disclose, there are inbuilt consequences in the Act itself. Firstly, there are fines that can be meted out by the Commission, and also there are criminal offences that arise. So there's a two-pronged consequence. Firstly, administrative fines to be meted by the Commission, as well as possible criminal prosecutions that can be instituted for lack of compliance. But this is a matter that we will deal extensively with when we publish draft regulations for public comment.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for once more taking us or joining us on a journey for final voter registration weekend. Refreshments are served on the foyer, but from now until Sunday, we go to the ground. You know that. So thank you very much for the support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, there you go.